Matt Powell, the gift that just keeps on giving misunderstandings of science, has yet another video out where he claims he'll explain why we know evolution is false and creation is true. This time, since species go extinct, evolution can't occur. Oh, and as a side note, Mr. Powell revoked access to this video, but thankfully, I was assisted by the friendly atheist himself, Hemant Mehta, who had already made his own response to Matt's claims. And since he's a big name in the community and said he'd be watching, no pressure on me.
Yes.
Let's take a look.
I find it interesting that evolutionists will go on and on about how they want to save species and they open up animal shelters to save certain species, when according to evolution, species should be getting created all the time.
Yeah, crazy us, wanting to preserve some of the organisms that are facing extinction. Yes, evolutionary theory says that organisms may go extinct if the environment changes dramatically enough that adaptations due to natural selection is not enough to counter those changes. The majority of dinosaurs went extinct when the environment of the Earth changed due to the asteroid hitting it 65 million years ago, with some lineages adapting to the changes by evolving into what would become modern-day birds. The fact of the matter, however, is that humans are the ones changing the environment so much and so quickly that we're driving animals to extinction because they're not able to adapt to the changes we're causing. And just because species can and have gone extinct through evolutionary processes, that doesn't mean we can't do what is possible to save them. Gravitational theory and basic human biology say that anybody who falls out of a plane at a high enough altitude will end up as a smear on the ground. But we can counteract that with our knowledge of physics. In the same way, just because some species are headed towards extinction, that doesn't mean we have to just let it happen. We can use our understanding of biology and ecology to try to counteract such extinctions, especially if we're the ones responsible for it. And just to be pedantic, I don't think you mean shelters. I believe you mean sanctuaries when talking about places attempting to save endangered species. You really think so? Oh.
New kinds of animals should be popping up, new families, through natural selection. Well, we don't see that at all. In fact, we see animals going extinct.
No. According to evolutionary theory, new species don't just pop up all the time. You're thinking of creationism, where animals can pop up ex nihilo by the word of a deity. Evolution of a new species generally takes a long time, from the perspective of humans. Small changes in organisms build up over generations until speciation has occurred. We are seeing new species arrive due to human interference in the world. The strain of Flavobacterium Ki-72, otherwise known as the nylon-eating bacterium, evolved to live off man-made material not found in the natural world. However, the fact is that humans are currently causing extinction events. We're transforming the environment faster than most organisms can evolve to adapt to the changes we're responsible for. Basically, we're killing off organisms so fast they don't have a chance to evolve.
So what that proves is that if we go back far enough in time, back to the Garden of Eden, there were more kinds of animals back then than there are now.
No, it doesn't prove that. The Garden of Eden is a story that has absolutely no evidence behind it. Even though your misunderstanding of evolution is not any kind of invalidation of it, if you ever do disprove evolutionary theory, we don't just default to the claims of your holy book. You want people to accept that your deity exists? Show us evidence that it does. What the fossil record shows is that the earliest life forms were microbes about 3.7 billion years ago, followed billions of years later by simple multicellular life forms. If your claim that all life forms in their current form appeared at the same time was correct, we would see fossilized evidence of them at the same geological strata as the earliest life forms, not the slow, gradual change the fossil record does show that supports evolutionary theory.
According to evolution, there's new kinds popping up all the time, new families of animals. But according to the creation model, we are constantly losing animals. Animal kinds are constantly going extinct. And so whenever an evolutionist tries to open up an animal shelter and shelter a endangered species, as they call it, they're just proving that there were species in the past that are getting wiped out now that we'll never have again.
The history of the world is full of fluctuations in biodiversity, where the number of species has waxed and waned. The number of organisms has grown and shrunk many times. It's not a simple straight line from the dawn of time till now of a steady decline of organisms. The fossil record shows a history of a large amount of biodiversity, followed by a cataclysmic event that reduces the number of species, followed by growth of species, then another change causing a mass extinction, and so on and so on. The difference is, these days, we're the cause of a number of extinctions. A species that has the ability to change the environment and should have enough foresight to work out the damage we're doing.
Evolution will never invent these new species through natural selection. Evolution is impossible to defend, honestly. You have to lie. You have to make believe to believe in evolution.
It's quite simple. It's quite simple to defend. Organisms have slight variations between parents and offspring, known as mutations. If these mutations are beneficial, they can rapidly spread through the population. As mutations build up over countless generations, eventually the population becomes so different they're no longer considered the same species as their ancestor. Nothing about that is make-believe or a lie. We have observed mutations. We know that the organisms that are best able to survive and breed are the ones most likely to survive and breed, and the fossil record shows the long, slow change of many organisms from one form to another.
You ask an evolutionist or an atheist, what is the meaning of life? Just ask them that. And they'll respond back with, well, my meaning of my life is whatever I make up. What they're admitting is that they're making up or make-believing a purpose for life. They don't think there actually is any purpose. And so they say, well, I'll just make up purpose. That's make-believe, folks. These people are make-believers.
Here's why I say I don't have a purpose that's been given to my life. I've never been shown that there is one. I think it would be more accurate to say that people who claim to have a purpose given to them by an outside force are the ones who are making things up, because they have no evidence of this outside force. I've chosen my purpose, to be the best father and husband I can be, and that gives my life meaning. Don't get me wrong. If you want to believe in a deity and it makes you feel good to think your life was given meaning by it, great, go ahead and believe it. But there is no reason to assume that your claims about your importance are real and that anybody else has to accept it. If you want others to think there's a purpose given to our lives, you need evidence for it, just like your earlier claims about the Garden of Eden.
In the Garden of Eden, honey, don't you know that I love you? In the Garden of Eden, baby, don't you know that I'll always be true?
Yeah, that last sentence was clunky, just could link it to the song. I admit it.